Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Wes Decker, all full of holiday cheer, and thanks to the groundwork laid out by Clement Moore and Henry Livingston Jr., I've got something a little special for you today. Allow me to put my glasses on and read to you. 'Twas the show before Christmas, and all around the set, even the teleprompter was off. I was working without a net. The stockings weren't hung because I forgot them at home. In fact, I didn't even remember my little Santa garden gnome. Anticipation ran high for the arrival of today's guests, for previewing basketball and hockey were the primary quests. Visions of balls being shot and pucks being whacked left me sitting here waxing poetic and completely and totally jacked. The three guys who would make that happen were due anytime, so I needed to hurry up and wrap up this holiday rhyme. Coming up, Parsaliti and Dunleavy look ahead at the hardwood. And for North Stars hockey, I'll welcome Coach Blackwood. It's a bittersweet show, the final one of the year, but as always, it's great that you've tuned in to watch us here. And as loyal viewers, you know, we haven't been naughty. No, we've been very nice. Heck, I haven't even mentioned Bieber more than, once or twice? So if you'd be so kind to vouch for us and assure Kris Kringle that we've been good little boys and done nothing wrong, then I promise I'll never let Kaufman come on here wearing what he calls his festive holiday thong. The mere thought of that image just caused me to retaste the eggnog I had with an earlier snack. Ooh, part 2 of the Inside Sports Winter Preview Show starts when you come back. And please, come back.
This is our home. It's where we've all decided to put down roots and raise families, not because we had to, because we wanted to. And as a business owner, you pour every ounce of energy into doing what's right for you in this community, and you won't and you don't stop until you get what you want, and neither do we. We're Antietam Cable Productions, and it's time to stand up and be seen and heard. You have a voice, and we'll help you tell your story. Antietam Cable Productions, putting the beat into the heart of your business.
Wanna be one, number one, it's gotta be fun. Wanna be one, number one, it's gotta be fun. Punch it, kick it, giving it all. Premier martial arts helps take it to the top, y'all. Jab, cross, hook, kick, you feel it when we stick it. Wanna be one, winner, yeah, I won. I'm premier, number one. Wanna be number one, kids? Have your parents call.
Welcome back to the Inside Sports Winter Preview. This is part 2, and this is Bob Parsaliti, and we're going to talk girls basketball. Bob, last year Williamsport was certainly the dominant team, I think, in the county. You could argue that St. Maria Goretti, who had a win over Williamsport, was right there. But as far as public school teams, Williamsport 21-4, only one loss to a county school a year ago, and it looks like for the most part that there are plenty of pieces in place for Williamsport to put together another pretty good, solid season.
They seem like they have a shot at making a pretty good run again, considering they have Kate Wade and Olivia Coleman back. Both of them are first-teamers from in both the conference and the Herald Male teams from last year. And they have Erin McVicker, who was second team. So you got 3 of the top 20 girls in the county, at least in the county, coming back. That can't hurt. And Sydney Hawkinsmith, who would be the 4th starter coming back out of that group, it's can be pretty dangerous too. She's a role player. Seems to be a role player, but she does a lot of things to really excel in places. So I mean, with that combination, they're going to be tough. I mean, Wade is the outside person. She scores 13 a game, and she had like 43s last year. And then you have Coleman on the inside, and she had like 13 points and 9.2 rebounds. So got an inside-outside. There's balance. You got people that do a lot of things. They could be pretty tough.
Yeah, I think they're going to be missing 2 players who were pretty key last year in Carly Robinson and Alexis Klein. But if they can find players to move into those roles, accept those responsibilities, this should be a pretty good team top to bottom. And Boonesboro should again be a team that will be there to challenge Williamsport. 18-5 a year ago. 3 of those losses came to Williamsport, but Coach Sam Connolly gets a big nucleus of his starters back.
He's got 4 starters back. Sydney Stotler, Alexis Baker, Ashley Oakes, and Camilla Miller. That fifth spot's going to be the interesting spot, though, I think. Out of that group of four that are coming back, he's got 85% of his scoring back, and Boonesboro has 90% of his rebounding back. But the point guard comes into play here, and the one thing that Sam Conley, their coach, is worried about is their defense and trying to get some tempo in. His daughter Ellie is coming in to be the point guard for now to start out, and she's going to want to be the tone setter in this. So she's a sophomore, but she's going to have to learn by fire. I think the wild card in this is going to be Taylor Strasser, though, for them.
Yeah, I think so too. She's a very versatile player who can do a lot of different things, and she has a competitive fire that burns in her that I think will serve to lead this team in a lot of ways, regardless of how that point guard situation plays out. I think she'll be a major leader.
And one of the things that they don't have to worry about, they won't lose 3 times to Williamsport this year. They'll only play them twice.
Well, that is true. That's true. And Williamsport won't have to worry about losing to Oakdale as Oakdale moves up to 3A. So those schools, a few ills have already been fixed there in terms of the way all of that will play out. Smithsburg a year ago improved by 11 wins. That was a huge jump with Coach Chip Baktel. Go 12-13 overall, get all the way to the section final against Southern Garrett.
Well, and they came on late too, I think. I mean, obviously, if they had to win a couple playoff games to get to the 12-13 total, so they came on late. They're returning Haley Baktel and Brett Grove as their starters, and then it's going to have to be what they're going to do. They're going to have to find points, and Haley is supposedly can score in bunches, but I mean, there's going to be times when the bunches aren't there that people are going to fill in.
Yeah, they won 11 of their final 19 games last year, so a real nice close to the season for Smithsburg. North Hagerstown, just 6-15 a year ago, won just 2 of their first 12 games. New head coach there in Kathy Parson with a whole new philosophy. A
whole new philosophy, and it's kind of hard to figure this team a little bit. I mean, we got Natalie Carlin coming back. She's a first teamer, and she's like the engine that makes everything go. Katrina Williams is coming back as a starter too, so she's got a little bit of experience. Kathy seems to be putting a lot of stock in Anna Scheck, who's a 6'2" senior but hasn't played. And with the philosophy she's trying to run, it seems like she's trying to run more of maybe like a college-type style with them. She says it's going to be very physical and take a lot of energy to play. So they're going to have to be ready. They're going to have to be probably ready to press a lot and be ready to run and transition a lot. So it'll be interesting to see if they, can put up to the pounding, I guess.
And their intra-city rival, South Hagerstown, coming off a 4-17 season a year ago that ended rather embarrassingly with a forfeit in the playoffs. Coach Helen Menzies back. I'm sure discipline will be a little more at the forefront this year, and looking for something for the Rebels here to turn things around from what was a disappointing year.
Well, last year they were a young team too, so I mean a year's experience can't hurt. The main player is Essence Henderson. She's a first teamer, and she was their leading scorer last year. And then they have Keegan Hill, TJ Goodman, and Jada Blair back as as the starters. So they have a young, but they have a lot of starters back. The tough thing for them not only is to get going, is they have a tougher schedule this year too, thanks to the MVAL being dissolved. So I mean, they're looking ahead at some big games, and one of the games is against St. James and their ex-coach Nate Naylor.
Yeah, that should be interesting. And you mentioned St. James, who started just 1-8 last year, but after a setback on January 17th, never lost again. Closed the season with a 10-game winning streak, wound up 11-8. And as you say, that's one that will be circled on the calendars. There's no doubt of that. And I think when you look at some of those other private schools, St. Maria Goretti, 20-9 last year, had a 15-game winning streak at one point during the course of the season. And also Grace Academy, 17-13, the Maryland Christian School Tournament Division II champions. And Lindsay Bedregal, a player there that came from South Hagerstown, the leading scorer in terms of points per game last year, also led an assist per game, steals per game, that is in the county, and also led in three-pointers made. I mean, that's a pretty good cornerstone coming back for them.
Yeah, well, and that's the big thing. They're going to be a team that probably is to be reckoned with. But Driegel does a great job. She's already starting off pretty good. I think she had 20 points the other day. And they have Hannah Colvin also playing, and she had been averaging 8 rebounds a game. And to add a little more intrigue to it, they have a transfer in from Goretti in Hannah Loudon, and don't know how much she's playing or going to play, but there's got to be some influence there from that winning team that she was on that could help out Grace some.
Yeah, I think so too. And Heritage Academy, 13-12 last year, lost to Grace in the MCST final. So again, a team that could possibly be on the upswing a little bit, was a very young team last year, still working their way back into things. And I think if you go back to public schools, Clear Spring, just one final note there, new head coach there in Todd Elwood this season. Now again, I know we're kind of all over the place here at the end, but there's a lot to cover and to get you ready for the upcoming season. Bob, look forward to covering it after the first of the year with you, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
And coming back right after this, I've got boys basketball with Kevin Dunleavy. Stay tuned.
Wanna be one, number one, it's gotta be fun. Wanna be one, number one, it's gotta be fun. Punch it, kick it, giving it all. Premier martial arts helps take it to the top, y'all. Jab, cross, hook, kick, you feel it when we stick it. Wanna be one, winner, yeah, I won. I'm premier, number one. Wanna be number one, kids? Have your parents call.
Sports fans rejoice, and Tatum Cable's sports package delivers all your sports action, including NFL Red Zone and MLB Network. Don't miss a touchdown, three-pointer, or home run from your favorite teams in your region or across the country. From pro to college to life in the great outdoors, and Tatum Cable has your sports coverage. Sports Plus. Order now and get 60 days free. Instant activation with a digital box. Call Tatum Cable now, 301-797-5000.
Welcome back to the show. We continue our winter sports previews now with boys basketball. And joining me for that, Kevin Dunleavy. Welcome back to the show, Kevin. Time to delve into hoops now. This is a favorite time of year for a lot of people. And I think as far as boys basketball in Washington County, we really need to start where we left off last year. We'll begin with the public schools and South Hagerstown, who had the best record a year ago with 19 wins.
And they've got a good group back. They got 3 returning starters, Jeff Wetzel, James Brooks, Marcel Jones, and then they got a real good cast behind them, both returning guys and new guys. Amir Harris is a point guard, transfer from North, and Kevin's excited about him, thinks he could be their leading scorer. So they could have a team that's similar to last year, although they have a tougher schedule this year. So it might be tough to match 19-4 this year.
But that might help them along the way. Book ended the season last year with losses to Linganore, won 17 games in a row at one stretch. But again, as you said, certainly South Hagerstown will be one of those teams that everybody will be looking to knock off because of the success that they've had most recently. And I think you could say the same thing against or about Williamsport, a team that year in and year out just seems to show up and win basketball games. And I know it's much more difficult than that, but Coach Ryan Grable was our co-coach of the year last year here on Inside Sports. Thought he did a remarkable job, an 18-6 season. And it looks like this year he's going to have to do it with a lot of similar players. Yes, Michael Riley certainly stands out, but a lot of other guys I think he's going to have roles for, and it's going to be how much they buy into those roles as far as the success comes with those.
Yeah, they'll go. They'll go 6 or 7 deep, and they've got some quality players. Michael Riley just led the team in points, rebounds, steals, and he's a great guy to build around. And Markeel Nelson is a good second option. So they go into the season with the same sort of group, but and they too have a much tougher schedule, which could serve them well in the playoffs.
Yeah, and last year they got off to a tremendous start to the season, which I think surprised a lot of people, and they were able to build on it from there. One good thing for them, though, Oakdale moves up to 3A, so the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year, they won't have to contend with them. North Hagerstown got off to a pretty good start last year, and then it was down the stretch that the Hubs sort of fell apart, but all of a sudden Coach Kevin Hartman gets his Christmas wish list answered early on in terms of getting some size finally.
Yeah, he's got 3 kids that are 6'5" and between 230 and 250. And that's a nice thing to have. They played a lot of small ball last year, and maybe they won't have to do that. Maybe they'll have that in reserve if they want to, because they got enough guys to do that too. So, they've got a nice group of 7 or 8 players that Kevin will have some flexibility with.
Clear Spring was another team that struggled down the stretch last year, wound up 9-14 overall. But Spencer Schultz, certainly the guy that you look at there at Clear Spring, he does a little bit of everything. He's not just a scorer. He does a lot to facilitate that offense, rebounds, does a lot of things well. Obviously, a Division I recruit, but at the same time, he'll be the guy through which the offense will make or break.
Yeah, their coach, John Hutzel, raved about him in the preseason, said he was a much better player, which is hard to do when you're a 24-point scorer from the previous year. But he looked like I didn't see him last year, but he looks like such a complete player. Friday night against Boonesboro, and I didn't expect that, and he was very impressive. And I heard he was not a Division I player last year. He certainly looked like one Friday night.
And what do you make of Boonesboro, a team that was 7-15 last year, new coach and Andrew Dinterman after seeing them first time out?
Kind of a limited team, a team with good pieces, good skill, good size, but they lack quickness, and that's really, the most basic element you need in basketball, and that's going to be, there's going to be matchups. If they control the ball, they'll be able to be good, to compete and be in a lot of games, but there's going to be teams that kind of dominate them defensively, which I think Clear Spring kind of did the other day. Jared Lazich, very quick player from Clear Spring, really created some havoc, and a couple other players did too. So it's going to be a tough deal for them, but I like their chances to improve on 7-13, which I think they were last year.
Yeah, Hancock was a 7-win team a year ago, struggled putting anything positive together for long stretches of time. And then the team that can certainly relate to that is Smithsburg, a team that did not win a game away from Smithsburg last year, went just 3-20 overall, and they get their old head coach back in Eric Gerber.
Yeah, and they only have one starter back, but they've got a guy who scored 26 points in their first game, a transfer in, Tavon Bay Wade, and so they may have a go-to player there that's sort of come out of nowhere for them.
And that was a problem last year for Smithsburg, scoring points. So clearly that's a good place to start because, as we all know, you have to outscore your opponent in order to win. I mean, that's about as basic as it gets. As far as the private schools are concerned, St. Maria Goretti a year ago, 22-9 overall, 8-6 in the Baltimore Catholic League, tied for 4th there, won their first IPSL championship. I know Coach Miller has talked to me about it last year. The expectations just get higher, and he loves that. And this is a team that's off to a pretty good start this year.
Yeah, they're a different team. They're a little smaller, they're a little quicker, they're a little deeper. So it's going to be a transition for them a little bit, but they've got 4 returning starters, and it's a really nice group that you can really, create your identity with defense with that team with all the quickness you have in the backcourt.
Yeah, they will be a perimeter-oriented team, and if you think potentially about a matchup against St. James, it was 18-9 last year. The teams played a couple of classic one-point games. St. James won the first one. Goretti won the second one, which was in the IPSL championship. Of course, Justin Robinson gone from St. James, but I'll tell you what, it's going to be the perimeter. It looks like the perimeter play of Goretti against the inside play and the size of St. James. There's no question Saints have some giants underneath.
Yeah, 3 guys 6'9" in the lineup, and 2 of them are perimeter players. Grant Golden and Craig Lesesny. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. Yeah, but you combine that with Omar Habway and Jordan Bartlett at the point, you've got a really solid lineup. The only question, like when they play Goretti, is that quickness. Will they have enough quickness to compete with them? So
well, we will find out at least once during the course of the season. And Broad Fording a year ago, a team that always plays a very ambitious schedule, 15-7 last season, but Coach Klutz always seems to find guys from all corners of the earth, and I would venture to say that that's not too far-fetched again this year. Yeah,
they got 3 players in the rotation from Europe, and it's the same deal as always. The names change, but it's the same talented group of players that Bernie has to, blend, and they get better throughout the season. It'll be interesting to see if they can compete they should compete for the MDDC title. Shenandoah Valley will be a tough opponent. They lost to them already by 10 points, but like I said, they get better as the season goes on. So looking forward to a rematch with them.
Heritage and Grace each won 18 games a year ago. Wouldn't dismiss them completely, but I think it's going to be a little bit different in terms of the lineups for those two teams this year. Going to be a little bit more difficult for each of those teams, but we'll keep an eye on it as the season goes along. I know it's a lot to jam in a short period of time, but there is your setup for the boys basketball season. Kevin, thank you very much.
Thanks, Wes.
I'll be back right after this. Got some high school hockey to talk about with Coach Jamie Blackwood of the North Stars in just a moment.
Look how cute we are. I want to puke on us.
From the producer of Bridesmaids.
I'm just a modern chick who does what she wants. And relationships aren't my thing.
I think we really like each other and we should start dating.
No.
Yes.
No.
I slept at the doctor's place last night. What were you, drunk? No, I had like 2 drinks. 3 max. 4 now that I'm tallying.
Trainwreck Unrated.
Digital customers, tune to Channel 1 to get started. Welcome back to Inside Sports. We continue now with high school hockey, and joining me is Washington County North Stars head coach Jamie Blackwood. Welcome back to the show, Coach. And I think it's fair to say that this season certainly is a season of transition for the North Stars. Talk about that first and foremost.
Yeah, it's been a rough year. A couple of months ago when we started looking at the season, we realized that we were going to be hurting for numbers of players that were still wanting to play high school hockey and that we had in the pipeline. We knew there were some lean years coming several years back, but it really hit us hard. So we ended up only with 10 players, which is a minimum you could have to even have a team. We like to have, double that. But so we ended up with a very much a development team, very, very young and in need of training. We have a couple of higher level division players out of club, but the numbers of per se skilled players is dramatically down this year.
And first of all, you even had to go outside of the county to find a goalie.
Yeah. So we had to, unfortunately, we did not have a goalie in the pipeline this year in Washington County, so we used one of the obscure rules within the league and asked to get a waiver to pick up an excess goalie from one of the other programs that was not going to be able to play because they had too many goalies and you're only allowed to roster a couple. So we were able to get one that way, and we were actually able to get a very sound goalie, and we've been spending a lot of time doing some work with him, but he fit in with the kids very, very well, and it's just been a pleasure to have him all year.
Yeah, Jack Perna is his name, played for Frederick County last year, really had some nice statistics there. The team this year got off to a good start, 1-0-1 to begin the season. 4 straight losses as we record today, but a major loss in terms of Dalton Blundell, who was going to be counted on for a lot of scoring and got off to a good start this season and then broke his ankle.
Yeah, so, over Thanksgiving weekend, Dalton plays for the Hershey Junior Bears and his club team and broke an ankle. So it's a rough thing. We're hoping to have him back by late January. So it puts a lot of pressure on the only upper division skill player that we have playing on Harris, my son, and it's a little difficult. He's a freshman, Dalton's a sophomore. There's a lot of pressure on them anyway to pick up in areas, and a lot was being thrown on their shoulders, as well as Eric, as a senior captain and things like that, or Chris Constantino, and things like that to figure things out and to play through. So the team is struggling. When we lost Dalton, it hurt the playmaking, it hurt the ability to move the puck a little more. Defensively, it hurt us a lot. Him being a defenseman, it hurt on that side of the puck. But the good thing I can say is, one, the kids get along phenomenally. You just can't get away from that. They have a desire to learn. They understand where we're at. They understand that we're going to take some lumps this year pretty hard. And with a new mathematical formula that the league has put into place for power rankings for teams, it behooves teams to run up scores. So good or bad, I kind of like that one lay where it is, but it puts our kids at somewhat of a disadvantage then. So they're not getting an opportunity to play against kids that are at comparative skill levels sometimes, that the more highly skilled players are being kept in the game no matter what the score is.
What do you sense right now is the mood of this team? Clearly, with sports at this level, the number one thing I think you want to see is that the kids are having fun. Are they still having fun? I mean, how are you able to gauge that right now?
So I think they are. I talk to them a lot, but you see what it goes on in the locker room, the sense of togetherness, what they do. They do things on and off the ice together. Mm-hmm. For instance, they just planned a Christmas party. They're going to do this ugly sweater thing together, at one of the guys' houses. It's like, no, Coach, we got a grip on it. We're going to do this, It's like, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
But just like last year, day off school, somebody plays a phone call, they're all playing pond hockey, So they have a sense of togetherness and they get along great. They understand, again, exactly the difficulties that we're facing, and they're not letting that get to them because they want to play the game. I preach all the time to them about playing the game with honor. You got to respect yourself. You got to respect the game. You got to respect your parents in the school district. And at the end of the day, you'll know you've done the right thing, regardless of what the scoreboard says. And they bought into that, and that's a good thing.
I know you're a guy who hates to lose. So what is most important to you as this season goes forward?
Development of the players I have and getting them to continue to understand that I have the pain that they have every time that we lose, but to teach them to play through it with respect. So I promised myself I wasn't going to lose it on the bench on anything. I wasn't, I was going to continue to coach the same way I do. I never yell at officials. I never yell across. I'm not going to lower myself to that standard, and I don't want them to. Right. So it's about teaching them how to play positional hockey, what the future brings to them, and make them the best hockey player that they can be given their start date in the game and where they're at skill-wise.
Well, Coach, best of luck to you and the North Stars the rest of the season. Always great to see you and talk to you.
Thank you, Wes.
I'll be back right after this. I'll wrap this show up in just a moment.
Tony's Pizza in Williamsport has had the same simple philosophy since 1985. Start with simple products. Sauce from the best Italian tomatoes. The best cheese and dough made fresh every day. Then mix those with a great atmosphere, and you'll have the best dining experience you can find. Tony's is known for their pasta dishes, subs, pizzas, and specialty items like their Nutella Dots and the famous Crazy Tony. Simply put, they want to give the best food they can give to their customers. So stop in today to Tony's Pizza in Williamsport.
Antietam Cable's WCL-TV invites you to take a tour of local restaurants from the comfort of your couch with our local dining guide, airing now. Your host Sam Little goes beyond just the dining room and sits down with local owners and chefs to talk about what makes their restaurants local favorites. We explore the best of American cuisine, head south of the border for a little heat, and travel over the Atlantic for some of Italy's best. Washington County is a hotspot for great food, and we're showing you what you've been missing with WCL-TV's local dining guide, airing now on Channel 30 and in HD on Channel 489.
Welcome back to the show one final time in 2015. Before we take our 3-week extended holiday break, wanted to make you aware of some of the highlights on the upcoming county sports schedule. You can get out and see some of these events in person, starting with this Saturday, one of the best wrestling meets of the year, as Andy pointed out last week, that big tri-match with North Hagerstown hosting Williamsport and Middletown. That's this Saturday. Then next Wednesday, the 16th, should be interesting at St. James when the Saints host Smithsburg. Again, a wrestling match there. As far as basketball is concerned, Friday the 18th, it's a girls-boys doubleheader with Williamsport hosting Boonesboro. First game starts at 5:30. Williamsport will also be hosting the Daub Classic. That is the 28th and 29th of December. And there will be a mixer at North Hagerstown for the boys on those same dates. Tuesday and Wednesday, the 29th and 30th, Boonesboro has its holiday tournament with the boys and girls in action, and Hancock does too with the Panther girls playing in theirs. Indoor track and field, Friday the 18th, it's the Dwight Scott Invitational, and then on Saturday, January 2nd, the Smithsburg Invitational, both of those at Hagerstown Community College. If you missed any of our previous shows or you'd like to re-watch them, you can see them on antpod.com, look them up on YouTube, or watch them on Antietam Cable Video on Demand. Our next fresh show will come your way on Thursday, January the 7th. Until then, very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and we'll look for you back in 2016 right here on The Inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers, You gotta get up in the streets.